Welcome to the Heidi Thorne Show. I'm your host, Heidi Thorne, and in this podcast, I share my real-world self-publishing and small business experience with you. So let's get started with today's show. Now, today I am going to talk about one of the biggest mistakes you can make when you are promoting your book, and that is wasting your money on swag. Now, what is swag? Swag is promotional products. It's the slang term for it. And I've even seen articles that suggest you do this. There's a lot of reasons why. Now, I used to sell, for those of you who don't know, I used to sell promotional products for 17 years. So I definitely know what I'm talking about when it comes to promotional products. And in fact, because of promotional products, I actually got into self-publishing because I wanted to provide a book to attract new customers. And I also wanted to help my current customers with a lot of the questions that they have. So my first book, Swag, How to Choose and Use Promotional Products for Marketing Your Business, was really in support of that promotional products business. So that's how I got into self-publishing. And so I know a lot about promotional products, and that's why I can definitely say not to do that for your self-published book unless you have scads and scads of money that you want to waste. Now, you have probably seen a lot of ads online everywhere that promote or advertise how cheap promotional products are, like 50 cents per pen. Okay. It's not just 50 cents per pen. First of all, you probably have to buy a ton of them to get that price. Usually what they advertise is the lowest possible price for the highest possible quantity. So let's say we're talking about pens. You would probably have to buy 5,000 or 10,000 pens in order to get that price. When you're talking about maybe a couple hundred pens, then the price could shoot up to $1, $2. It could be very, very expensive. And that doesn't include all of the other costs and fees that go into purchasing a promotional product. And that would be the setup fees. Some of them, they'll say, oh, there's no setup fees. Well, there are also setup costs for the supplier. So there's always going to be the cost, whether they charge that separately and to make the per piece price more attractive, or they build it into the price, it's going to get paid for somehow. Now, the setup fees are what they have to do to set up your order on the press. And that can get very intricate because you have to remember it's not like a sheet of paper. Usually a promotional product has dimension, whether it's a pen or a mug or something. It's three-dimensional. So that's a completely different process than just shooting something through a printing press. And so there are going to be setup fees, and some of those can be expensive. Some of those, if you have a really small order, it can be as much as the product order itself. Then there's the shipping cost to you, which could also be very expensive. And here's the one thing that I don't think most authors think about. They think it's really cool to have a mug or a t-shirt or pens or whatever with their book title or logo or whatever on them. And it's pretty cool. But then you have to think, well, how are you going to get those to your potential readers or your current readers? How are you going to get that stuff to them? That's another shipping fee, and that's even more expensive because if you have to send one, let's say, mug to someone, that could be like $3 to $5 on its own just for that one mug. I mean, it can get really, really pricey. And here's the other thing that you have to think about. if you're a self-published author, you're probably using systems like Kindle Direct Publishing. Okay, that's great. How are you going to get stuff to your readers? One, you're going to have to ship it, but if you're selling on Amazon, there's no way to get it to your current readers or those who buy from you. You're not going to be able to get it at all, get it to them at all. So really, when you have promotional products for your book, they're really only geared for when you have in-person events. And not many authors do these days. And then if you think, well, it's the book signing, well, okay. It's hard enough to get them to buy the book. So now you have to remember also that the royalty or the revenues that you're going to make on each book is not going to be a lot. It might be a few dollars. If it's a normally priced book, let's say in the anywhere from $7 to $15 range, you might make only a few dollars on that. If you would have to send a promotional product to them, you would completely obliterate any royalty or revenue that you would make. Now, I have to admit, it is kind of cool. I was in the business for many, many years. And so luckily, I got a little bit of a discount. So I experimented with promotional products for books, and it really did nothing. It did nothing. And I had to buy hundreds of anything. In fact, I think I still have some of it now, several years later. So it's it's just crazy. It's a crazy expense. It's a very, very expensive unless you have other, business adventures that you're doing. But really, you have to look at the return on investment that you're going to get from the sale of each book. And if you're doing just ebooks, it's even worse. So for these reasons. One, you're probably not doing a lot of in-person events and you're selling online. And due to the high expense that is involved in purchasing promotional products, I really don't recommend it for most self-published authors. I just don't. It's not going to make them buy. You have to remember too, let's say you want to thank your current readers. It That's great, and that's really generous of you, but they're not going to buy your book again. They're only going to buy it once. So you're not going to get them on a continuing buy. And that's where promotional products are really best suited, are for services and products that have multiple buying opportunities, such as subscriptions or things like that. So it has only limited applications. And so really, really look at your ROI, your return on investment, before you ever delve into any of this. Do not let your ego get the better of you and want to buy these things to just make you feel good about your book. You have to look at the money. You have to look at the money. And as we've talked about in the episodes about the self-publishing survey, most authors are not making enough money to even justify these expenses. So don't waste your money on promotional products. And if you do have other opportunities, though, let's say you have a business or maybe you're in a nonprofit or something, and you want to know more about promotional products, then you want to check out my book, Swag, How to Choose and Use Promotional Products for Marketing Your Business. And it's available in print and ebook on Amazon, and the audiobook is available on Audible. So that's only if you are doing like another business or nonprofit, but it has a lot of information about it in case you're just curious. And if you found this episode helpful, I would really appreciate it if you would wander over to iTunes and give the Heidi Thorne Show a nice rating and review. And also, while you're on iTunes, don't forget to subscribe so that you get more of the episodes with more advice on what to do with your self-publishing and small business career. But if you don't like to listen on iTunes, I'm also on Stitcher and Podbean. And if you like to listen on your Alexa, you can just use the AnyPod skill to find the Heidi Thorne Show there. Also, the video podcast is available on YouTube. You just have to subscribe to my Heidi Thorne YouTube channel. And again, my books are on Amazon. You just have to search for my Heidi Thorne author page and all of the audiobooks. And I have about, I think, 7 of them now. You want to check those out. Those are on Audible and Amazon, of course, and iTunes audiobooks. So check those out. And don't forget to share either the books or the Heidi Thorne Show with your friends on social media. And if you'd like to connect with me, my website is simply HeidiThorne.com. Thank you so much for listening and for your support. I'll look forward to talking with you again in the next episode. And in the meantime, have a great day.